Hello, we are Revue. I'm Emma.
And I'm Marty.
And we are here to interview each other. So we're going to ask each other a few questions and hopefully you can get to know more about us and more about the band. So I'm going to ask you a question, Marty.
I will answer that question.
Are you looking forward to the album launch?
I am looking forward to the album launch, yeah. I think it's the first time we'll play all these songs with our band.
Yeah.
All of our band.
All of our band, yeah.
Yeah. We did a short tour in France over the summer, but we couldn't bring the whole band. So we just had one other person with us. And this time we'll have 5, including us, plus horn players.
Mm-hmm. So we'll have Sean McCann on bass, Josh McCulloch on drums, Yanis Sulaki on keys, Hannah Murray on trumpet, and Shonad
Murray. No relation.
Seriously,
Yeah,
they're both called Murray?
Murray.
Shonad Murray on saxophone. I had never noticed that before. That's weird.
Yeah.
And I am excited as well to play all the songs off the album with that group of people. I think it's going to be a really nice vibe, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I always love having a horn section.
Yeah. Would have them permanently if you could, but
I know.
in this economy.
I've got another question for you.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I just keep thinking of questions. What's your favourite song off the album?
Hard one to answer.
Right, really?
Well, presumably we both like all of them.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Otherwise we wouldn't put them.
It'd be strange.
Wouldn't have put them together on an album.
I think my favourite at the moment is probably "Song Goes."
Oh, right, okay.
Just 'cause, even though this is kind of like an indie folk album that's veering slightly proggy. Which
You
is
like
the
a
type
bit of
music I
prog,
like.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say "Raise a Glass" because we were talking about the horn section.
Yeah,
so,
that's a good one as well. It's lovely New Orleans-y kind of.
yeah. There's a few songs on the album that have horn arrangements as part of them, and I think that gives it something a wee bit different than, we're generally an indie folk / rock band with those 5 main instruments. So having the horn section, that adds just something more to it,
Yeah.
It's more interest, a little bit of funk,
Yeah. Different textures.
Different textures, yeah.
And before we were an indie folk band, we were a duo.
We do still play as a duo. We are available as a duo. But it's so much more fun, I think, to play with more people. The more, people in the band, the better. And I do love those stops with the drums,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the backing vocals as well.
Yeah, it's just much better.
Yeah.
With more people.
Can you remember how we wrote that song, Raise a Glass?
So that was one a lot, well.
Yes, tell us about our writing process.
Yeah. It's going to go in, well, that one is different to this other one. Yeah, I guess it's a combination of a lot of the songs you come to me with, like you've got the song and you're like, oh, I have this song, and you sing a bit of it and you've got the chords and then...
Not all of them are right all the time.
Not all of them right all the time, but most of them are right most of the time. So sometimes we change a couple of chords and then we have to figure out the arrangement of all the other bits, including the horns sometimes. And then other times I've got a bit of music that you then figure out something to sing over. But Raise a Glass, I think, was kind of one of the few that was in the middle of those. So you had a bit to sing, you had a melody and some lyrics, no chords, no music at all.
Yeah.
Which isn't that usual.
It's not that usual, no. That's why I kind of picked that one. So generally I'll be messing about on the guitar, I'll have an idea for a melody, I'll find chords that fit that, and then I'll write all of the lyrics, and then I'll come to you and you'll make it much, much better. But in this case, I just knew I wanted to write a song that was in this vibe. So
like a jazzier.
Yeah. But also kind of it's kind of an angry song without being angry. It's like it's a bit of a sassy song, isn't it? There's a bit of
Sure.
sassiness in there.
I
It's a
guess I
bit
never
cheeky.
thought of describing it like that. But yeah.
So that was the kind of the vibe that I wanted to go with. And I don't know where I came up with the phrase raise a glass from, but once we had that, it all kind of started to roll.
Yeah.
I find it harder to write songs whenever you've come up with the music first.
Yeah, it's tricky. There's already something there. You've got to fit. Yeah, you got to make it fit. Well, and I mean, that's kind of like how you raise a glass, or other ones are when you've got a melody but no music, because there's a lot of chords in music that technically would fit under any given melody, but are they the right?
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think, I mean, it's obviously very handy that we live together.
So yeah, you're going to address the
Marriage,
elephant in the room.
the marriage issue, yeah. It's handy that we live together, but very often I write songs while you're out or away.
Yeah, well, it's like that. We really like the story about, I think it was Michael Jackson showing Quincy Jones a song, maybe.
Oh, right, okay.
No, we definitely talked about this.
Okay.
But
I'll remember as you tell.
Yeah, sure.
Tell me.
And apparently, even though he was a huge global superstar, he was still so embarrassed that when he would show Quincy Jones a song, he would sit there and he's like, right, I'm going to sing you this song, you turn away.
Oh.
And don't look at me while I sing you this song.
Are you sure we've talked about this? Because this is the exact story of whenever they wrote Wonderful.
I think that's why we end up talking about it.
Okay. Well, I've lost that memory completely, but whenever I wrote the song Wonderful, which was our first single that we released, didn't know I could be wonderful. I was very embarrassed about it, but that's because it was a love song about you.
Sure.
You know, it was even more. There was an added layer.
The song's in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why did we end up? Why did you write the song? Why did we end up making
All
music?
Of these songs?
Well.
Oh, why did we end up making music?
That song, Wonderful, just as an example, but like generally, why did we end up? Why? How did we get here?
How did we get to this point in time?
Yeah.
Well, so we met because of music.
Oh, yeah.
You were already a guitar player. I was already a singer, but I wasn't doing very much singing when we first got together. And you kept going, come on, let's do some singing.
Yeah.
So we did start doing that. And then I had written a lot of songs when I was younger, but I'd never released music before. And you were in a successful band, Civil Simian.
Successful.
And you were releasing music, and I was like, oh, this is possible. Yeah. You know, we should get into this.
Yeah, and then I definitely just mentioned that other group, which is sort of more rock, funk sort of stuff. Like, I definitely saw it when we started making music as like a way, we can scratch a different itch. So like this is while still being like Western-y guitar-based music, it's quite different.
Yeah.
And most people are into a lot of different types of music.
Yeah.
But most bands only do a few certain types of music. So if you're only like in one group doing one sort of thing, it can get a little boring for you.
Yeah, I think that in terms of the types of music or the type of music that we've made, the first EP was a little bit of everything. So there was some real
more eclectic.
There was a jazzy one. There was one that was rock, and the Wolf was more bluesy and stuff like that. And I feel like we tried our hand at a lot of different things.
And then refined it.
We refined it for this album,
Found our aesthetic.
We did, but I mean, it's still one of those things when people ask you what type of music you make. Now
people hate answering that question.
It's a difficult question to answer, because I think you have to put yourself in this box, whatever. And I think we have found that indie folk, / rock is kind of where we sit.
When you say that to people, they're like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think I know what I'm gonna get then.
Hear.
Tell me about the new album.
So it's called Why Can't You Stay? And I was going to say to you that, you know, as well as describing it as indie folk, when people have asked us about it, or when like PR people ask you for like, you know, blurbs and summaries, we've been saying it's about love and loss and catharsis. And maybe you could talk a little about that, because there's a lot of backstory to that.
Yes. Well, so the album is called Why Can't You Stay, and the name comes from a track on the album which is actually called Cross the Sea, but the line is in the song, Why Can't You Stay? And we wrote most of this album through lockdown and beyond, or no, we were after lockdown.
Yeah, we started it maybe in the lockdowns. And then...
After lockdown, and during that time, it was a very emotional time for a lot of people, but unfortunately I lost my brother, and then less than a year later lost my dad, and so the themes of loss obviously come through in the art that you make, and that is what has come through. I mean, the album talks about a lot of different things in terms of maybe the loss of friendship, or you know, it talks about love and joy and togetherness, and why it's, you know, brilliant that we can get back together again and you know, and gather again.
And that's kind of the antidote.
And that's the antidote to feeling lost in any way, or experiencing loss in any way. So whenever we talk about the fact that there's themes of loss in the album, I don't want people to think that it's very sad or really depressing, because it's kind of the opposite. It's supposed to be uplifting, despite like that.
Thing. Yeah. Which, I mean, a lot of music like that, you know, things like Radiohead or whatever, on the face of it seem quite dark, is really more about like getting you through that or out of that somehow.
It's
or
to get you through it, And I do think it's that people will identify with that. Everybody's lost, you know, someone or lost something along their lives. We don't get out of this unscathed, you know, so I think people will be able to identify with that. And yeah, but, you know, I can't think what else to say about that, really.
That's a pretty good song.
I've forgotten really what any of the songs on the album now. Can't bring any of them to mind.
Yeah.
Oh, so we already released a song from the album.
Did already release a song.
So we released Love's Executioner, which you can find anywhere that you listen to music, and on our Bandcamp. It's the first track on the album, and what I love about it is that it goes through the whole song, and then the drums come in at the end with this big, you know,
crescendo.
Big crescendo.
Yeah. So it eases you into the album with like a very gentle start.
And then the drums come in and it all kicks off, and the horns come in as well. So, you know, I think it's a really good, it gives a good example of our music overall, really, you know, gives a really good idea of what we sound like, that song, and there's plenty of harmonies in it as well.
Yeah. It's good
we love.
For delayed gratification.
Yeah.
You gotta wait for the drop.
Yeah. Anything else you can think of?
Maybe just that we're releasing another single as the album comes out.
Oh my God, yeah.
Which is,
it's easy to forget about things when you're interviewing each other.
Yeah. Well, we should have had cards.
So what is the new single called then? The single that comes out with the album?
It's called Downhill, which is a reference to Downhill Beach on the north coast, which is beautiful, and people know from being used as a filming location for Game of Thrones, but it's also sort of an example of like another stealth theme on the album.
Yeah.
Which we didn't mention.
Downhill is kind of the setting for the point, you know, what happens in the song, rather than...
It's a story about loss, I believe.
It's a little bit about loss, that one. But, yeah, it's sort of the downhill is the setting. It's not really about the beach, but the imagery of the beach is used quite strongly in the song. And it's one of those beaches where it's got so much imagery, because you've got the temple, Musselton Temple up on the cliffside, and
cliffs.
you've got the cliffs.
Yeah.
And there's a line in
on
that
beach.
song, the wind will cut you in two, even on the sunniest day. And when we went there for the photo shoot, which you can see the photos on our socials and all stuff like that, the wind was absolutely driving along that beach. It was a beautiful day.
It was beautiful. Made the sea very dramatic.
It made the sea look amazing, yeah. So anybody who's been there, you know it's quite an iconic beach. So I had always wanted to write a song about a beach, but and Downhill just has the best name for a song. Yeah, it's got the double meaning and everything.
Yeah.
So,
and it's an example of naturey themes, I guess, as well. That's in a little bit of the music.
Point, yeah.
Because, you know, like we live in Belfast, which is about as urban as you can get in
Northern
this
Ireland,
country. But we do like nature. We've got a couple of dogs. We like walking them in forests. I mean, that's another way you
Find inspiration.
but deal with living in a city.
Yeah,
Even
absolutely.
one as small as Belfast.
Yeah. And I think that the fact that we spent a lot of, you know, time whenever things had locked down and post-pandemic as well, you know, in forests and beaches and just natural spaces, where you could feel not confined.
Yeah.
So that obviously, you know, was a big influence then, came into the songwriting in lots of different ways. There's maybe 3 songs that reference the sea.
Yeah.
At least 3 songs that reference the sea. Yeah, so in a major way,
Yeah, it's maybe more. Send us your top 5 forests in the comments.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I'll be arguing with them about the top 5 Northern Irish forests. Cairnwood.
I mean, these are all ones around Belfast, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
that's where we
no,
go.
Tullymore. It's not
Okay,
in Belfast.
Yeah.
Redburn. Beaver. I don't know.
Crawfordsburg Glen's quite nice.
Yeah. Can leave that up to the public vote. Anyway.